Hello and welcome everyone to ZaranTech.
Did you know that over 90% of Fortune 500 companies use SAP to manage their financial data? SAP FICO is one of the most used modules for handling business finance globally. SAP FICO stands for Financial Accounting and Controlling. It helps businesses manage all their financial operations, like payments, reports, costs, and taxes in one place. This course gives you simple, step-by-step guidance to learn SAP FICO from the basics. Experts say SAP FICO skills can increase your job opportunities by over 40%. Companies are always looking for people who can handle financial systems, and SAP FICO is the gold standard. Knowing SAP FICO is not just good for your resume, it's a key skill in finance and accounting jobs. Whether you are just starting or want to grow in your career, this course gives you real-time guidance to learn faster. In this training, we'll cover all the important parts of SAP FICO clearly and simply. You'll get personal help, hands-on practice, and expert tips along the way. Let's dive in.
So for the AP one, I think you are already, just to give a quick background drop I think you are very well versed with AP. So I will just run through a bit fast on that. So I think AP, as you know, it's for the vendor submodule that we have. And then we also, we use the automatic payment programs to process the payment for the invoices that are due. Okay. So now what we have is we can have two types of payment medium that we can use. One is a classic payment medium, and one is a payment medium workbench. Okay. So the payment medium workbench uses this formats which are known as which we configure using this tool which is known as DMEE. What does this DME stand for? Data Medium for Exchange. Okay. Right. So now the thing is, SAP had already kind of provided a list of DME which we can use, right? But what we have is you can also create your own specific formats. Okay. So how do you do that? So that will be our topic of discussion. Okay.
I have worked on that. So okay, you can go through it, and I'll ask questions.
Yeah, sure. Okay. No problem. So in this, right, so what we have is, in this, we have the DME formats, which you can see in the transaction OBPM1, right? So in this OBPM1, let's say we talk about this XML. Okay, so this is a kind of a file format that we are talking about. Under that, right, you have different modules. So we wanted to know, right, what are those, we configure this kind of payment medium format, but what is the exact steps using which the file gets updated, right? So for that, right, we have the event modules. Okay. So you have different kinds of events which can be configured. So what happens when you are doing a pay file preparation? What happens is first step is your payment run. Correct. In the payment run, you can have multiple vendors which are being picked up. You can have multiple company codes which are being picked up, right? So first, what the system does is the first event that it does is it's to sort the data. We will see in the DME where do we specify for the sorting of the data. Okay. So first step is the event is 00, which is for the sort of data. So here you see the function module which is tied with this. Okay. The next step, what happens is, for example, you want to pull up some invoice references also, which you want to pay, right? So that will be coming under the 05 event, okay? Where it fills up the additional reference information which you might read, okay?
Right.
And so for that also you have a function module which is FI payment. So let me go to the transaction code where you can view the function module as well. So here you can see the function module which is fetching the data from additional. So as I have told you, we can fetch the invoice reference. So this is kind of the table where you can have additional payment data which you can fetch.
Yeah, you can assign that your method in FBZP.
Yeah, so in FBZP
the classical and the other one I'm talking about.
Yeah, so you're basically the format you can assign in FBZP.
Right.
Now what we are doing is we are not doing the format. So we are going one step further into that. So for populating the data into that format, what are the events so the one which you are talking about is this one. So if you go to FBZP, right? And let's say we go into the payment method for the country, and for country US. right? Let's say we are having one payment method. Which one? Let's say international bank transfer. This one. Okay. So in this, right, what you have is you can have a format which you have populated over here, right? So this particular format you can assign. So either you can have a classical payment medium or you can have a payment medium workbench, right, over here. So now if we want to see, well, like for this particular format, how does it work? We are going at that particular step. So as you can see, the one which I had picked up here is, let's talk about this then Z CGI XML, something like that. So it starts with Z. So we just put Z here. So this is the one. Okay. So now under this, right, if I want to see the modules, it is this, right, at the moment. But we can definitely add on. So let's say there are multiple events which are possible. Why is it not allowed? We need to go to the change view or the cross client. Why it is not allowing? The change authorization is not, because this is a T code where we can change it. But unfortunately, okay, let me get this particular thing sorted as well. I think the change authorizations I would need it to show this to you, right? Yeah. Okay. So the first step is basically what? Though in the first step you are sorting the data, right? And then in the next step, what you do is you fill the additional reference data. For example, you're drawing up the invoice reference. And the next step which we generally do is next is the format parameter. So whether the XML file or you need a payment with or without advice. So those parts is there. For example, here you would have seen it. So when we go onto this part, you would have seen whether you have payment with documents or without documents. So there's format information are fetched from here. Okay. So what happens is we go on to the path for like the next, I would say, the event, which is populating this file. So the first step that you do is you start the file header, right? So file header. So basically at this step only after your 20 steps, the preparation of the file starts. All these are the file preparation activities. Okay, 0, 0, 0, 5, and 10. So at the 20 step, you start with the file preparation. And here you kind of like, which we will see in OBPM4, like how do you generate the variant, where do we save the file? So you start with accessing that particular folder where you want to put the file. And then you populate the file using this one, file close, file open first, and then you put the transaction record, and at the end you put the file trailer, which is this. I think so. This is kind of the basics of it. So whenever you're trying to create kind of new payment medium format, you need to go through this particular modules one by one. Over here, the function module. So at least you know what are the steps. And like, for example, you know, like when you open the file, right, at that point, you might need to, okay, so what are the common scenarios you can have? So you can have the scenarios like, for example, the first scenario, maybe the bank has provided a folder to you, okay? And there only, from there only, you can upload the file.
That bank communication management, right? That's
yeah.
Where...
So but we are not using that module at the moment. So how do you achieve it? Right. So let's say we are I understand there is a module FSCM bank communication management where we have the multi-bank connectivity feature, using which we can directly drop in the file into that particular folder. But for here, what we can
apart from that, there is one more actually. I don't remember, but there are XML files. There is a list of files. You can see it and find it out. I don't remember that place now.
Yeah, it's a AL11 application.
AL11. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Right. So basically, it will be using that kind of methodology only. So what we will do is at the part of the start or open file over here. Right, the ABAPer can just, so if you want some instructions to be put in over there, right, okay, please help me to put that file into this folder. So what will the ABAPer do? You need to provide the logic for that. So you need to mention that whenever you create the file, that has to be done, let's say by user ID, which is in the like for example, the workflow batch, something like that. You can have a generic user ID because you don't want anybody to change any contents in the file once it is updated in that folder. So security is also one concern, right? So what you will be doing over that is you will be at the event 20, right? You will tell the ABAPer, so this is my function module. And in that function module, please ensure that the file gets created only by WF batch and the file gets saved into this particular folder. Okay. So what will be the outcome of that is basically so he will configure a folder under AL11, this particular T code under your SAP directories. He will configure the folder, and through that folder the file will be getting passed on to this bank folder which they have given to us, and there it will get stored. Okay, so that will be the kind of logic which will be followed for for your XML. So the scenario is there are two type of bank transfer which they call. One is a H2H, which is kind of host to host. I think you will be aware of these terms, right?
Yeah.
And the other one is L1, L2. So where we have the approval which is done, either it can be done in SAP or non-SAP before we move this file to the bank.
All right.
Okay.
So when you are moving, it is through interface only, right? And then those activities.
Yeah. So the interface can be handled using this event.
Yeah. That is again different. Those settings and all those are, I mean, like 50-60% we can do that work. So that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So when basically when you do this, you go to structures and fields too. So
yeah. So basically what you need to do is here you can see, for example, this particular module, right? If I want to see this particular function module, right? Here they need to put the code, right? So here you can see it is having this file output section. So here they will be modifying this particular parameters. So in the export, they will be specifying like where, like they might be having some parameter name. Let's say so Citibank folder. Yeah.
Go back to the parameters basically. Yeah. So here, which do they use here? Is this
okay? Okay. So basically, 20 event is for what? It's for start or close of the file, right? So basically, your file is ready, and then you're trying to do this. Yeah.
No. What I'm asking is what syntax are they using and what language do they use? C, C++?
No, it's the programming language for SAP is known as ABAP. ABAP.
ABAP only. Okay. So no C, C++. But they use the repository from other systems and retrieve the data like C, C++, especially C++. From SQL and all, they bring the data. That is another level. So that's okay.
Yeah. So basically, so we have different programming languages, and yes, so you have SQL. Basically, it's kind of a way where you can call up maybe like from a database, you can retrieve a file using the SQL query, right? Which is a very commonly used kind of.
But again, it runs as an interface only here because in the SAP, right?
Yeah. So basically, in this, right, we are using the ALE interfaces. The name of the interface is ALE. So, for example, if the interviewer asks what kind of interfaces which you can use to transfer the file, you can tell it's known as ALE, Application Link Enabling.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you use application link enabling, what will happen? The file which first gets stored in the application library, which is AL11. And from that, right, if you have the correct authorization for that particular folder which the bank has provided, they should be able to transfer the file from here into there using the ALE concept. Is it clear?
Yep.
Okay, that's good. So now what will be your thing? Like, for example, you will be configuring that particular, like the event module, and you will be instructing the ABAPer. So you will, in your functional specification document, right, what you will be mentioning is the output should be in this particular folder. So what will the ABAPer do is, as a part of your, like, let's say the ABAPer has already configured the program for you, right? Now you want to kind of debug this. So you can just put a start point over here, and you can just check whether the file is getting pushed to the correct folder or not. Okay. So this is generally as a part of the initial troubleshooting, we do that. So just to check, okay, so we have already configured maybe the DME file and we wanted to use it. And now as a part of this, if you want to display, like if you want to verify that the file output is going to the correct folder, you can do it from here. Okay. Any doubts onto that? So I think you are very much clear about the events. Right.
Right. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
I want you to go back and show me the structures and that major mapping that
Yeah, that
happened.
I will come, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's say, so this is about the event, but how do we create the file, right? So that we do it using this DMEE.
Yeah.
So for the payment medium, we always use a tree type PM. What allow me to check on this? Crazy, which it does not allow me to do the cross client config. Yeah. So it's like I can go into the display mode and show it to you, but it won't make much sense until and unless you are able to see like what are the fields that we change, or and what are I can only show the node and like which field stands for what and all those kinds of things. But the practical basis, it will be more evident when we do this from here. I think that but not a problem. So it is only our first class, but at least we have started on the concept, and we'll dive in further in the next class as well.
Go to format attributes. Go to format attributes.
Yeah.
Here. So
yes.
we specified that format.
Yes, correct. So basically here we specify, like, for example, from which structure and using which kind of program we fetch that, like to populate the XML file. And so basically it fetches like the initial format from this particular place. Okay. And you remember the sort fields I mentioned, it is all here. So here, for example, we are sorting by the payment document number. So what the system will do, first it will arrange all the payments in ascending order of the payment document number. And this will be my key fields, which must be populated for each entry. Okay. Then, for example, in some of the cases, let's say you are dealing with payments with countries such as which are using the non-Latin characters, for example, Korea, Japan, all these countries also you are doing payments for, right? So then there may be certain characters which they use, which the bank does not allow you to use, right? So what you can do, you can put those prohibited character list over here. Okay, so that will be in your bank format. So what I will do is I will also upload kind of a sample bank file for, let's say, for one of the banks, maybe BNP or Citibank. I think Citibank will be good, right? Because it is used worldwide.
Right.
So that will be a good reference point to start with. So there you will be seeing all these things, like where in the bank specification, how to translate the bank specification file into a kind of SAP file format. So that you will be able to do that then. Okay.
And go to sort key fields. Go to sort key fields.
Yeah. So this is the thing which we just saw.
So when you are putting these structures, does that mean like this is the field where the reconciliation would happen when the file would get transferred, right? Because
okay, so we need to go back to the payment run in that case to understand how it gets structured.
No, because I'm asking you because I little bit forgot, and I'm
no problem.
No. I'm mixing up with treasury, so that's the reason I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. No worries. Not a problem at all. So what happens in this case is in the sort key fields, right? We specify how you will structure the file. So So let's say in this case, right?
No, I got it. Sorry, the 1 minute I got confused a little bit, but from these structures we will actually find those fields instead of taking from the tables, and those exact fields would be there in our bank file, and that is how it will get matched and reconciled.
Right. And one more thing important to remember is, let's say in your payment run, right, you are having maybe two account IDs, like you have house bank and the account ID, right, which are participating. Now if you want a separate file to be generated for each bank account, the pay file, then you can have that particular account ID also added over here as a key field used for sorting. So what it will do is, first it will sort all the payments for maybe the account 1. It will do all the payments, and then at the next step, it will do sorting for the next bank account. Okay, so that you can specify how the structure of the file will look like. Then I think like you in this one, right, you have some kind of tags which you refer. Okay. So now, first of all, we are using XML tag for our file, right? So this comes as kind of XML format file which gets triggered. And there are some kind of instructions which the bank wants. Like, for example, this particular file that you have prepared, it is for like maybe which version of XML. that you are
Right.
talking about. So those things, how will you specify in this? So under your XML tag, what you will see is you have the version of the file here. Okay. So for example, the bank tells you, I want to use the pane file 003 format. They can be also pane file 002 format. I think the pane 003 is the current format which all the banks are using.
Okay.
Okay, so they will be giving information in this aspect. So basically, you won't be like, for example, under the XML file format, if you are asking them, right, the question, you need to ask like, which file format are you using? Is it pane 0003 or the 02 format? So these are the information that you need to look out for even in the file.
Okay.
Okay, and then what we have is, we'll in the node legend, right, you have some further distributions of it is, for example, each information that you populate is denoted by an element. Okay, under that element, right, for some reason, if you want to have kind of some criteria, like for example, if the currency is USD, then use this particular account. If the currency is, let's say, something else, maybe euros, then use another account. So those you can find out. So for example, here I think they have used, yeah. So these are like the atoms. For example, if they are having, like here, let's say we are doing a transfer from a current account, or you can have from a savings account or a loan account or a cash account, right? So all this account have some code. Okay.
Right.
So what they have done is they have put some conditions. Like for example, if in the bank indicator, like there is a reference field which is populated with 01, then it will populate as CACC. Same way, if it's populated as 05, then it will be kind of, the account type will be cash. If it's 02, it will be savings, and if it's a loan, then it will be 03.
So is it defined anywhere that 02, 01, 05? So, or as soon as I go into loan, it will give me the list of things, or?
Okay, so basically, like SAP already has a pre-definitions which are there.
Okay, I'm just saying. So, for example, by mistake for loan, if I choose 04, so would it show me the error?
No, it won't show, because this is a freely definable config, so it is not having any validation at this point.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because this can also change. It is not always. It is like you can have your own maybe indicator 06. For example, in Japan, they have a different kind of account codes which are used apart from the current and the savings. So they have a checking account also, right? So if you have that, then so you can configure 06 for that as well. So you are free to configure like what should be the code which should be used for the current account or the savings account or loan account using this particular field. So what I wanted to mention here is, using this under your elements, you have that atoms where you can put the conditions. So under the same element, you can have multiple atoms which can define like the conditions for the same field. Okay, so this part you are clear. XML attribute, I think you are clear. You're clear about what are the elements. Elements are the information which you are providing. Atom, you're also clear.
Also, I'm clear. This one is, I have not seen these cash, savings, loans. So I think I think, you know what? I went through savings accounts.
Yeah, always. So generally for the organization, it can be a current account or a savings account. Most of them.
Saving account. Yep. So that's how it got.
Yeah. So if you do not want like you don't some, and this particular field is not kind of mandatory in the file as well.
Okay.
So that's the reason.
No, but I did it for savings, I remember. But if you go for again, my question is, if you go for that saving account or loan account, how would I know what number should be given?
Savings that should be there in your bank specification for that particular country, because
so
this
the
is
bank
very
does provide that.
So once you get the file specification right, they will also mention, like, if you are doing any transfer, let's say to this particular country, and you need to indicate the account type, and these are the indicators for the account type.
Okay, then that should be okay. Fine.
Okay. There is one more part which I wanted you to know, is basically how do you do summation? For example, you have multiple number of transactions, right? How do you do summation for that? So actually, you can do the summation using this reference node. Here. So for example, you can see TX2 is your reference node, right? And here, right, you mention this as an aggregation. So what it does, if it's aggregation, that means it does not display any value. Rather, what it will do is it will keep a count of the value and it will go on adding. And which field it is adding? So for the first transaction, let's say it adds TX2. So it keeps on adding. So here you get the number of transactions. Same way it happens for the total amount as well. Okay. IA2 is mentioned here for the total amount. So this is basically so how you structure the file. So from the file, what the first step is, we need to create the payment medium format using OBPM1, right? In the OBPM1, you can decide whether you will have a payment with or without advice, right? And then at the next part is you can decide for this particular format, what are the event modules which are possible. So I had told you about the different event modules which are there in SAP, right? And if you need any changes in those function module, you know which module to refer at what point, right? Then after we went to the DME structure. In the DME structure, we talked about the different, in this particular format, what are the attributes that we are using, which is here. So here you have the format specific structures, which you can see. And also for fetching this XML program, you have the logic over here as well, right? Then you populate your source, like what is your sort field or what are the key fields. So for example, for each entry, it will look into this key fields to be populated. So those things you have discussed. And then we also had discussed how do you handle cases where you need to exclude certain kind of characters from the file. And in order to, once you specify this, right, it won't stop over here. You need to also put that, let's say in the name, right? In the name, you wanted to ensure that those correct characters are not called, right? For example, by default, it will always call up all of them. But if you mention there are certain logics, like these are predefined logics which are available. So here it is telling, for example, CL, these are the codes which you will be finding in the drop down. Okay. So here you can find, let's say if you want the code to replace the characters with a leading 0, then you can use this.
Oh, I know what you're saying. I had that. Yeah, I went through that scenario. I don't remember which project now, but but the file just started with 0 records. Yeah, and then I mean that was, I think, they didn't want to fix it. They just wanted to keep it as it is, and they might have chosen this format, one of the formats.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the easy way to fix it. So basically, you can just replace the characters and remove the characters. So there are several options, which are, I think it is very comprehensive. It will cover any scenario which you can have. So these are all predefined conversion functions which you can use.
So this reference ID would help in the reconciliation of the file, or no? Because I'm just looking at the treasury point of view. So
yes, correct. So basically, in this, right, you will have the total records, control sum. So this will be what you will be reconciling with. So when you see the file, the total of the file, which I think is coming up in IA2, right? So the total will be here. So here will be your total. I think they have not put that correctly for some reason. They should refer IA2 over here, basically, if they want the header to reflect the total. So this total you should reconcile with the amount which is reflecting in your bank.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe that was about the AP part which we wanted to discuss. And unfortunately,
So here there are again payment advices, right? 2 types. And then, so I mean, I'm just trying to brush up. So payment advice, do that basically. You just do that payment run and interface run, and then the file will get transferred. And so according to the requirements now, in the payment advices, that is under again
FBZP, right?
Side,
which you do.
Interface side, characters and fields, all that stuff. That one. Yeah. Okay, so that is not related to this part. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay.
Thank you for brush up, because I did that.
Definitely, it's a good way. And also, what I will try to do is, so like as I was going through this one, I will also put up some scenarios. So that like not only it is kind of we go through that in the training, but you also have the document Whenever it comes to your interview, at least you are very much prepared, right? Okay, I will be able to handle this kind of scenarios if the
Yes.
interviewer asks me to do that.
Right. Perfect.
And I will also maybe do you want me to finish up this AP and then continue with assets?
Yeah. What else do you think at AP side? Because interface is there. Again, at interface level, do you want to go through that quickly? What areas do you just get yourself extended and do more configurations and, with the RFC connections and a lot of other message type and all that you provide?
Yeah, so okay. So for the AP, right, you start with the vendor process. So vendor master creation. How can you get the vendor master created? So there can be scenarios, let's say, where I have a system where I do all my logistics activity. Okay, like production activity, procurement activities, I'm doing over there. Now from there, I want to send kind of the vendor information into my this system, which is my financial system, SAP. Right? So how do I create that? Using that, we have a very common method is IDOC. So IDOC is there. So we have the standard IDOC type for the vendor master data. So we can create using that particular IDOC. The same way, so even because vendor cycle start with like the procure to pay cycle is there, right? So first you do the purchase orders and then you have the GRI and then you do the payment for that. So for that purchase order creation also you can do by the IDOC. So I think so if you want, we can show the standard IDOC types. So that's not a problem. So if somebody asks you that what are the possible ways or maybe the standard ways in which you can interface when like the master records for the AP module, you can inform it's IDOC. And you can and maybe I will also give you the standard IDOC types. So from which you can explore further, because there is nothing much to explain from the functional side. It's only the structure which is there. And you need to import the file and just process that IDOC.
So especially when you choose the message type over there, those are like 0, 5, because no one remembers that, right?
Yeah, no need to remember because SAP is already having the indicator over there, whether it's a warning, whether it's an error, or whether it's an information. So all those types.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not recommended also to because how much you will remember because it is like the main advantage for SAP, it's quite user friendly, I would say.
Yeah.
So and also you like with any kind of status it comes with a description as well. So no need to kind of maybe I would say learn all those codes because the message type right now which you are seeing may not be available, maybe enhanced in the next kind of upgrade that you may have.
Okay.
All right. Let's test your knowledge. Here's a question for you. Which SAP module is primarily responsible for external reporting? Option A, CO, Controlling. Option B, FI, Financial Accounting. Option C, MM, Materials Management. Option D, SD, Sales and Distribution. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck. Type the correct answer in the comment section. Hey there! Want to get good at managing finance and accounting? Our SAP FICO course is here to help. You can take it at your own pace on our platform. In this course, you'll learn all about SAP FICO. It's like a toolbox for handling money, from tracking expenses to managing company accounts. Our course covers everything you need to know, from the basics to more advanced tips. It's made by experts who know what they're talking about. Your teachers are pros who've been working with SAP FICO for years. They're here to help you learn and answer all your questions. And don't just take our word for it. Our students love the course too. People just like you have found our course very helpful. Best part? It won't cost too much. This great chance to learn that is affordable. Ready to become SAP FICO expert? Sign up on our page now. And for more info, check out ZaranTech's website.
The file structure, like the DME structure, the BAI2 files, it's the flat file format, right?
Right.
So basically you go there itself and change the configurations, or every time it differs?
Sorry, let me go back to this. Yeah. Let me know where exactly is your question. So you're talking about we have, let's say, 2 file formats, right? Which we are using.
But this is specifically for DME. This is not for BAI2. Oh, that is again in the string format. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused. Sorry.
No. Here you already have, it's XML3. It's XML3 format. right? So for the BI, you won't find this, right?
No. Those are the search strings. Those are the major search strings.
No,
So,
this tick box. So if it's a XML one, so basically how it starts, I think when we went through that, like the beginning part of the config, right? In OBPM1, there you defined like what is the type of files that you are generating.
yeah.
So then there from
Yeah.
from there you can just maybe trigger that this is the XML one, and when you tick that as XML, then it will allow you to proceed with this config as an XML file. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I think the EP part was like quite clear, right, for you. Anything which is causing problem on that aspect, maybe for the AP before we move on to the asset?
Now, one second. No. One second. You talk about some AP related issues that you handle, like at month end and severe issues related with AP.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so for the EP, like the issues which can happen is, first of all, if you do not have the like, okay, so the generic issues are, for example, the file content, like maybe your directories are not having the right access, so you're not able to place the file and those kinds of things, right? But
but that is basic, extremely basic. Basically, you sometimes do anything. So not these types of questions like month end or any other related major issues in AP side, and again connected to a little bit those kinds of issues I'm asking you.
Yeah. So basically what happens is when you are trying, like you can have a scenario where again it's a kind of overlap between AP and DA module. So you can have a scenario where, let's say, you have done the goods receipt. Okay, so what is the entry, accounting entry for the goods receipt? Tell me when you procure an asset.
Oh,
let's say
don't ask me though. I was into a sequel right now.
Oh, okay. No worries. No, I will go through that and then I will explain. No, not a problem at all. Okay, so let's say so this is in fiscal year 2020. Okay, so I am purchasing an asset. So this is my objective.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, asset account debit to bank or
via AP. So basically what I'm doing first is I have raised a purchase order, right, with my vendor, correct? Then in your account assignment, you will have that asset, right, in the purchase order. Correct. Then what you will do is in the goods receipts, right? When you are doing the goods receipt, right, it will be debit your asset account.
The GRIR.
Yeah, and credit, let's say the GRIR. Correct. So this will be your entry. So this happened in the year, let's say 2020. Okay. So let me also tag it with a date. So let's say it happened on 29/12/2020. Okay. Now you want to do invoice in, let's say, 2nd of Jan 2021. Okay. So what will do the entry? It will be credit vendor and it will be debit the GRIR clearly. Right. This one. Now what happened is, due to some reason, right, you found that basically this particular entry has been done with the incorrect quantity. Okay, then what you need to do? You need to reverse that particular this particular goods receipt, right?
This is again basic. I know. No, I mean, you reverse. Tell me.
But then you might have an issue where, like for example, the asset balance cannot be less than 0, right? So how do you do that? How do you change the transaction type so that you allow? But again, it's coming more to the asset side.
Oh no. I'm not at all looking at asset AP side, but it's okay. You finish this. You started, finish it.
Yeah, sure. So when you try to reverse this, right, reverse the GR, then what will happen is you need to make sure that, like for the transaction type, right, your balance is also not equal to 0, right? Or not equal, or I would say not less than 0, right? So this is always the check that you do, right? So whenever you have any kind of, so good receipt is done maybe with transaction type 120 for the assets. And here, when you check for the transaction group 100, you check that the balance should not be equal less than 0. Then what do you do on those cases? So basically then it comes like we will be talking about the cases where we can create a new transaction type and then move the balance to that particular transaction type in this particular year, and then we nullify it to 0. So how do we do that? So again, so we will cover that as a part of our asset config.
So does it go to MRBR?
No. It is basically just like a Migo. So in using Migo only, basically you can just, there is a portion, right? You can create a GR and at the same time you can reverse a GR. But when you do that, right, you just update the transaction, maybe the transaction type for that.
Okay.
So how do you do that? Again, if you go to financial accounting under your asset accounting, then you have this transaction type information. Yes. So you will here you will be having multiple, no, not this one. I will go to the acquisition part. Yeah. So here you will have 100, group of 100, right? So there, under there you can update basically the settings, like whether, like which is the consolidated transaction type which you are using, and whether you allow both the types of transactions, like whether it will be only debit or credit, and what type of transaction you use it for. And also you need to set up this set changeover here at this place. Okay, so then only it will allow you to have kind of cross year, you will be able to have that value which is less than 0, and then you should be able to proceed ahead with the reversal posting. So these are some kinds of you won't face that every now and then, but yes, so this is something which we will be facing only at the year end, say. So whenever you are having this scenario where, because your balance cannot be 0 in this particular year, right, 2021, because there is nothing. So if you need to reverse it out, then you might need to consider the update of this transaction type. So this can be one of the scenarios. Okay, so coming back to AP, right? So you are already...
One second. Yeah. So did you get the access to upload the file, because you were supposed to show me the DME only, the format?
No, unfortunately, still that is not sorted. So
that's okay.
I hope that will be getting, because I think on 21st, hopefully we can get it done. So yeah, so on that, I will check back with the server team, because there are certain transaction authorizations which need to be allocated to me.
Okay.
So,
and, so one quick question. So as a consultant, how much time do you spend on end user transactions?
End user transactions, actually, it will be like, especially depends on the type of projects that you're working on. So you have the different type of project, like support project, upgrade, rollout, implementation, right? For the support project, I would say it is around 60% of the time you spend on this end user transaction. Because why? Because whenever the end user reports any issue, right, first you need to kind of go through the what exactly the error that is happening. Then you would need to simulate that error maybe in the test system, or try to
No. The reason I'm saying is I'm in US, right?
Yeah.
So US folks, we do not get the major issues. Of course, if there are issues,
yeah, definitely.
At end user. But how much time? Because at fixed assets, I have no idea how much it comes and go, because I know at treasury side and all how it comes. But fixed asset side, it is a mixed one, right? I mean, even the end user transactions are crucial ones.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I don't know. We will see. I mean,
So what I can tell is basically for the fixed asset module, right? Like generally, as when you are working on a support project, right? So generally, like there will be very minimal places where you need to do maybe a new transaction type for write-offs or depreciation or all those stuff, because you will be using a consistent method for the depreciation calculation.
Right.
So you won't be changing that every now and then.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
The maximum which you can have is maybe a new category of asset you are buying. So you need to create a new asset class, account determination, and all those stuff. But the major problem that it will be having is like where, for example, you have maybe over depreciated. How do you correct that? So there are some transactions codes so you need to know this transaction code thoroughly. For example, ABSO, right, for the miscellaneous transaction. So let's say for one of the depreciation areas, right, you have booked additional depreciation. Maybe it's over depreciated. So you need to adjust there. So in this, right, you will have options in the transaction type. You will see options where you can correct only for a particular depreciation area as well. So yeah, so we have that. Subsequent adjustments still can be here. Yeah, for example, this one. When you go through this 190, right, you can correct the depreciation value, not only like you have the option where you can correct the depreciation value in not in the book depreciation, but in the tax depreciation. So I think there like you need to spend some time, especially like when the user has come up, okay, there are issue, maybe I have already completed my depreciation run, but for some reason this particular like for my US GAAP depreciation area, right, it is not giving me the correct values. So as a part of the root cause analysis, what you will first do, you will go to your Asset Explorer, right? And then in the Asset Explorer, you will see like what are the options that they have selected. So maybe for the US GAAP depreciation, they have booked everything correctly. But what they have done is maybe the depreciation key that has been used, right, that treats the transfer of the values differently.
Right.
Over there. So what they
it triggers
correct. Right. So basically you have, for example, the multi-level method, right, which is there. So maybe in that they have configured it like, okay, so for the acquisition, it will start depreciating maybe from the previous month or something like that. So which is not correct. So as a result, it has been depreciated by a higher amount. So how do you correct that? You can go to either like, because this won't affect the future of the asset. Like for example, moving forward, it will depreciate with the correct value only. So you need to only correct in the current month. How do you do that? You can just do a devaluation of this depreciation.
Oh, okay.
In this. There can be other unplanned depreciation is also one way, but sometimes so there are also limitations for that. So you need to be thorough with the transaction codes which are used, especially even though it's an end user transaction, but when you're working a support project, right? Because support project means we already have a live system, right, which is running perfectly fine, but sometimes there are some issues with the transactions which happen. So for that reason, you need to know this in a bit details.
Yeah. No. Basically, for APAR, it is still okay, but fixed assets, you should know the end user thorough.
Yeah, right. Definitely, it's very important that like understand what are the because for fixed asset there are, although we only talk about 4 types of transaction like acquisitions, retirement, transfer, and the additions, but still in each of the transaction there are quite a few variants that we have. So that's the reason it's important, especially to understand how those end user transactions are being done, and also you need to know what are the kind of templates that has been built. For example, for some company codes, you always go through whenever you purchase an asset, right, you always go through the technical clearing account, and then once the asset is maybe put to use, you offset that particular clearing account, right? But in most of the cases, right, you can directly maybe put a purchase directly to your APC account, right?
Okay. So we'll see that fixed asset later. Might be in a couple of days. I'm almost getting done with a lot of things of my masters. So I'll quickly go through the list of end user part first of all.
Yes,
so when we are talking, we'll come to a day or so. I'll quickly go through and I'll understand what we are going through.
Yeah, sure. No worries with that. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay. So I think one more issue I wanted to discuss is basically what happens. So you are aware of this part, right? So whenever, let's say, okay, so you're doing an AP run, okay, but there has been an error for that. For example, let's take parameters have been created. Okay, let's say we talk about this one. Okay, so let's say the proposal has been created for this. Okay, and what is the next one? We need to do the payment run. Correct. Now let me check if the proposal run already generated something. Oh, it's okay. It is kind of so it is there in this proposal run. So let me just delete it so that at least I can use this as an example. So this particular error, it's a very common one. So for example, sometimes what happens is the user tends to tell like, okay, I have already created everything part of this proposal correctly, but still why I am not able to generate why it is not getting picked up. So then you need to just advise them, please look into this, and it might be content in. So basically, you cannot have the same vendor or maybe the same document picked up in multiple proposals, right?
So for example, in this payment run for like if there are 300 transactions running, and if we just need the half of it, we just have to. So how would you do that with not too much time consuming part? Because you will be taking document numbers, that I know, but apart from that, how would it be faster if there are, because going through 300, checking one by one, it's too much, right? So
Yeah.
we'll
So
just
what you
series
can
of
do? Yeah. So what you can do is you can just, for example, let me check what is the company code in this. Is G01. Okay. So now if I go to my FBL1 and transaction, right? And let's say I have this GE01 as my company code. And okay, so it is only 3 in this case. And what is the payment method is C. Okay. So what I can do is there are options for doing mass changes, right? So what you can do is you can update the payment method in all of them. So that is possible, right? So you can update the payment method at the invoice level. So in that way, you can restrict only only those which has having those payment method that can be selected in your payment. So that
No,
can
but
be
no. But you can also block, that invoice. Okay, but for 300, so for example, 300 is still less. Say if it is 5,000.
yeah.
So how would you do that for 5,000?
No, 5,000 actually. So then what do you want to change in those 5,000? That is
So
one question.
in those 5,000, just take, for example, 2,500. It is mismatch. Okay. And we just have to clear those 2,500 and we have to block 2,500. Blocking is okay, but how will you do that in mass? That's my question.
Okay, so you, like, for example, you want to process only those first 2,500, let's say, out of that lot.
Not like that. Mismatch. That's what I'm saying. Mismatch. First 2,500, you can still, take the series.
Yeah,
and
range and so on.
Range is, I understand, first thing. But again, it's a mismatch. And the companies are really strict not to go through those particular payments. So first is document type, payment method we can block, invoice level we can block. What else? Can we really do it in a faster way? Because these are the major issues they ask for, end user people.
Yeah. So, for example, in this, right, what, like, one option which I see is basically when you basically execute this, right? When you do the proposal, first of all, when you do the proposal run, right? So we don't have the only option where you can maintain the values is over here, correct? So the next part which comes is, like, then you can only restrict cases wherever you have only selected the payment method, right? For example, in the invoices, you have already selected the payment method. Those cases only you want to draw up. So that is very easy. So what you need to do is for only those 2,500 documents, so whether it be multiple documents or something like that, you can always do a mass change, right? So that is one option. So in the mass change, you can just specify the payment method. So let's say I specify the payment method C over here. And yeah, and then it will update it. Okay, so whichever are updated, it will come as green, and whichever is not, it will come as red. Okay.
Okay, but again, it's a one by one task, or
No, it can be it's not a one by one task. The reason why I'm telling is because you're not going into each document. So basically, you are just selecting once you have kind of this layout which is available, you can just directly go to environment and mass change and put the new values. So basically, I did not select all of them, right? I just went to new values and I can just add that. Right. Okay. So that is one of the options. Basically, there can be multiple options or multiple ways to do that, but this is one of the options using which you can do the mass change, right? But again, like in your APP screen, right? So the options are kind of, I would say, is like there is only few places where you can do that selection of the document numbers, which is like under the free selection, it is there. You can exclude some values. Maybe you might have some kind, like on some basis you will be excluding, right? Like let's say those which are kind of having this particular, let's take a very weird case, which is having this particular reference text, that only you will exclude out. So then that maybe you are, if I just give an example of this is, let's say you're working with an airline's kitchen, okay? In an airline's kitchen, and then for that, right, you have procured some stuff, maybe for one of the flights, which will be kind of taking off in a maybe right. So you want to ensure that all the outstanding maybe for that particular flight is clear, and whatever which you have purchased, right, for maybe the next maybe you can have a purchase which with multiple vendors, so you can have maybe around 200 invoices. Let's say I'm checking on a lower side, so if you have 200 invoices, then you want to clear all of them. So there may be, so in this case, you first is a vendor selection which you have there. But in case from the same vendor you procure for multiple airlines, right? So which is a very common scenario. So then what you will be doing, there will be some reference, right, which the vendor will be putting. So you only include those reference in the selection criteria.
So here is the thing. In this value field, for example, if there are any vendors like particular names, can we put the names here to exclude or no? So for example, if we have a particular vendor, ABC, so for ABC, we can exclude here, right? Totally.
Yeah. Right. So, but the thing is, if you want to exclude a vendor, then you can do directly over here.
Yeah.
But if you want to exclude any particular document with a particular text, right, then this makes sense. So here you can have, let's say, from the for example, which you have told, right, you can have for some names which are in this range you want to exclude, you can do it here. But if you know the vendor code, you can do it in the parameter. If you have some other things, let's say you want to only exclude those which is belonging to some other industries. Maybe you want to only include all the, maybe the raw material food vendors you want to include, but let's say for the beverages and all you want to exclude. That you can put it over here. So the criteria has to be unique.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that is the thing which we have. So basically in the APP run, right, what I wanted to show here was, okay, so now let's say I will try to redo my proposal run. So there can be issues where, like, after when you are doing the payment run, for some reason maybe the document number has reached the last, like it has already reached the last number, right? So you cannot do that. So how do you draw up a document number again? That can be one of the common kind of scenarios which you have. So for example, here you have already done, like, this is due for payment. So let's say if I try to allocate this further, okay, let's see what is the error they have. Oh, it has been blocked with key R. Let's do. So here you can reallocate. So we just remove this block and then you can just select whatever banks, something like that. Okay, now for GE01, I have not looked into this entity code, but for some reason, let me see for C payment method, what do we have? We'll try to block that particular node. So payment method in company code is C, which is good. If I want to see the document type, it is KZ, for example. Yeah. Now, what I will do is let's say I block my posting till the period 6 only for some reason. Okay. So now what will happen when I try to do the payment run? It should fail, right? So let's do that. It's completed. Okay, okay. So this document is generated. Maybe it is not using January to December fiscal year. That's a problem. This might be using April to March or something like that. Yeah, I have copied it correct. Oh, this is the vendor, sorry. And this is the document number is 604. Yeah, it's period 4. That's the reason it's actually allowed. So yeah. So basically what you had the option was when you go to the payment run, so there is an option where you can draw up again over here. After it is terminated, right, you can draw up again. So then basically what it happens is it will be posting has failed, and then you can draw up again and release it for posting once you maintain the number. So this is something which is quite common, especially at the year end again, when you have not maintained.
Go back and show that the number 4 to me. Where was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, period. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're trying to change the period and trying to...
No, I'm trying to block this particular period for posting, but unfortunately I didn't realize it's using April to March. So it is. So even though I have blocked only period 7, so still it has got passed. So that was the issue. Well, but I think what I can do is I can create some scenarios. Do you already have the system access for this?
No. I won't be able to do any practice.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Uh,
On this one. Oh, okay.
yeah. Sorry for that.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
problem. But what I can do is I can maybe put those scenarios over here, and then you can maybe you can try it in your own system. So some kind of scenarios I can put it, and if you want, you can just go through them.
Yeah. I'll find the solution at least.
Yeah, right. But this is the solution. Like this is for whenever you go to this one, right? If you want to draw up again, you can just do it here.
So once you do draw up again,
Yeah.
what?
So basically, what it happens is it again tries to do the payment run, and now if it finds the document number or maybe the period is open for posting, then it carries it out.
Okay. So okay, but then it doesn't take, so that that particular transaction gets blocked and that period 4 gets opened up. If it is closed, then
yeah, if it's closed, then it will not. So it will show as a posting order has failed, right? Correct. So let's try to do that again. Let me check if you want. No, it doesn't allow me because I can go to maybe reverse that particular document, but still the problem is I cannot reuse this payment transfer. I need to copy and create a new one.
All right, let's test your knowledge. Here's a question for you. Which document type is typically used for customer invoices in SAP? Option A, DR, customer invoice. Option B, DG, customer credit memo. Option C, KR, vendor invoice. Option D, SAGL account document. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck. Type the correct answer in the comments section. Hey there! Want to get good at managing finance and accounting? Our SAP FICO course is here to help. You can take it at your own pace on our platform. In this course, you'll learn all about SAP FICO. It's like a toolbox for handling money, from tracking expenses to managing company accounts. Our course covers everything you need to know, from the basics to more advanced tips. It's made by experts who know what they're talking about. Your teachers are pros who've been working with SAP FICO for years. They're here to help you learn and answer all your questions. And don't just take our word for it. Our students love the course too. People just like you have found our course very helpful. Best part? It won't cost too much. This great chance to learn that is affordable. Ready to become SAP FICO expert? Sign up on our page now. And for more info, check out ZaranTech's website.
So basically, so what will be the agenda for today? So for today, right, we will be starting on one of the topics I have just listed some of the project issues that you face in a support project for the AP module. Okay, it's here. So for example, this we had already done, right? So this sometimes what happens, the user does not because they have a template, right? So the end user works like they work on a kind of a procedural way where they just input the parameters and then just go through the steps and they just complete it. But suddenly they tell I have already this particular invoice which is due, but I cannot find it. Why it is not picking it up, right? So the easiest way which you can do is, and sometimes what they do is, and they are also maybe may have informed that they only follow the rule book which they have, and they do not want to change any template, right? For example, here we had already done this particular payment run, but for some reason this particular document which is over here. Okay, let me go back to the proposal. Okay, so maybe some of the document has not been picked up for the payment. So what do you do is there is one more. So you need to go at the table level. So for example, in SE16N, there is a table REGUP. This I think you should be knowing, right? This is kind of for the payment program. It's a very widely used program this one. So you need to identify for in which proposal run basically that particular vendor is used, and maybe the document number which she's intending to use, right, for the payment, that is stuck over there. So this will be something which will be kind of a groundwork which we need to do in order to just find out that particular invoice, and then we can ask them to just delete that particular proposal run and proceed. So this is the first kind of common issue which I had listed over here. The next part we had already seen, right, which occurs generally at the year end. For example, maybe as a part of the year end task, you need to do the like extension of the document number, right, for the particular year, which has not been done. So how to fix that issue? You can just select F110 and draw up again, right? This particular option.
Right.
The next part is related to the new GL functionality. Sometimes what happens, right? The vendor complains that, okay, I have already booked my invoice correctly, but I am not getting the split working fine, like in the correct way. So it is going to the technical account instead of going to my, instead of going to the vendor code. So how do you fix that? Right. So so this is one thing, and the other part is basically the validations and the substitution part, which I had also given one of my examples. How so what happens is whenever you book an invoice, right? So you have certain you can have certain expense, like, so the entry will be credit vendor and let's say the debit expense codes, right? So when you for the accrual entry, you don't need the expense code, like the tax code along with those expense accounts, right? Because
One
yeah,
second. Vendor split not happening correctly.
yeah,
So that means it must be happening at cost center level, right? And because it will be an expense of cost center and then profit center, but mostly at cost center level. And then, so what are you trying to say on that?
yeah. In this, right, what is happening is, so credit vendor, okay, and debit expense, and we can have a debit expense, okay. So let's say this expense is booked to cost center 123, maybe 000, which belongs to your profit center 123, okay. And same way, the other one is 124000, and it belongs to profit center 124. Okay. So now what we do is basically we want to split this vendor line, and the amount, let's say I have is 10,000 over here. Then let's say we have 6,000 over here and 4,000 over here, right? So this is kind of the invoice entry. Now, as per the document splitting concept, what do we need to do? We need to provide kind of segmental reporting, right? So it like, and in case we also want to obtain the financial statement by profit center, then what this entry ideally should be, when it does the document splitting, it should be this, right? So basically this particular vendor line, it should split into two parts like this. Correct, but
Yeah.
what the system is doing instead of this is it is doing this way. So okay, it is keeping this over here, and here it is picking up kind of the default profit center. Let's say it's picking up dummy, right, as a default profit center, and here it's picking up 123, and here it is picking 124. And what it does is it will be having kind of maybe some like technical account might have, because you need to define the technical account for sure, right, for all your document splitting. So what it's doing is it does the split in the technical account. So it happens like, for example, this becomes 10,000 for dummy.
That dummy is like for profit center, right?
Yeah, the profit center, correct. So basically the objective is not achieved. So basically you are not having the split of the vendor line into the as per the respective profit center.
Yeah.
Right. And it is going, and basically the split is happening for the technical account, which is not our intent. Right. Our intent is to have this kind of posting. Why this happens? So let me cover it. So basically in new GL, right? First of all, we define, so it is a part of the extended splitting rule, which is over here. So here you have the document splitting, right? So now what is the first, like these are the general configs, right, for the document splitting. So first you activate the document splitting, and then you have defined, so you have defined like which is my vendor account for reconciliation account, how you classify the vendor transaction, everything you have done. But, and here you have defined your zero balance clearing, which is a technical clearing account, which I was talking about. So that you also have defined. So now what is happening is, there might be a case where, in this case, like for example, under your, you need to go a little bit inside the splitting rule over here. Okay. So first, let's see what is the splitting rule that I have in use. So let's say we have the splitting rule, which is 12. 12 is active in our system, right? This particular splitting rule. So now let's go into our definition over here. So under this splitting rule 12, what are the characteristics we have? So we can see we have defined this transaction vendor invoice, right? So that means for the vendor invoice, if I go further, right, it will be deriving the splitting rules in some way, right? So this is the item category, which is the vendor item category. Now, sometimes what they do is, if you have the split automatically indicator, right, ticked over here. So like maybe it's it can be a kind of a incorrect config sometimes, where you have, if this particular indicator has been ticked for some reason, then what it does is the system tries to do the split automatically based on the profit center only which has been provided. It does not derive any profit center for any other lines where it is not available. Okay, so you need to must make sure there is kind of an easy catch wherever you have basically you want to derive for the based on the profit center from the expense line, right? You should not have that split automatically ticked over here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do remember. See, basically, these splitting rules and all, when you actually activate the new GL, that time itself it gets defined. Now there are more cost centers and profit centers you're adding, and then those rules are different for some other GL accounts. Then only these configurations would get changed according to the profit center level. Otherwise, this will not get changed, right?
You should not basically change that on a regular basis. But the thing is, sometimes as a part of your migration, right, when you do the migration, right, you want to just let the system derive whatever are the profit center which you have provided in the input file. Right. So for that, what happens? For that reason, basically the split automatically has been enabled, so that you tick on over here, so that it does not do any additional derivation and it sticks to this. Okay. But after your migration is complete, right, you need to switch off this. The reason being because then you want the system to automatically inherit the value, let's say from the expense lines, or maybe for the customer invoices from the revenue lines, right? Same way, if you are having any inventory movement from the material lines. So this is important in those cases. So basically, you need to remember that whenever you are doing this migration, you might have the split automatically basically ticked. But please remember to switch it off so that your so that the system would derive the values correctly, especially when doing the document split.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So this is one point. The next part is the example which I was giving was, so this is also quite a common scenario which you have is, okay, I just give you the scenario first. So what happens is you have a list of expense accounts, right? For example, you have, let's talk about this one, the bad debts expenses there. Then you can also have some reallocation expenses, which is there. All these are available. Maybe at the end of the which you need to book. Okay, so what we do at the end of the month, sometimes the accountants, right, they book an accrual entry, and the accrual entry is not subject to tax. right? Because this, you don't want to pull it in your tax report, because these are something which you might foresee that it might happen, but actually it has not like basically it is not the actual kind of expenditure which you already have. So you are providing for that particular expense, right? So what you want, this entry need not be booked with a tax code, but you want, whenever you book an entry for, let's say, the bad debts will be not a good example. Maybe a reallocation I will take. Maybe for the credit vendor and debit reallocation expense account. So this particular account you always want to book with a tax code.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you ensure that? So basically, if I tick this particular indicator, right, in your FS00, that post always with tax, right? Like, let's say we talk about any of let's say the general expense account. If we talk about here, if I allow them to post, like, okay, so whenever I allow posting without tax allowed, then at least it will allow both the transactions, right? But it won't force me to put in the tax code for your invoice, right? So how do you achieve that? So you can achieve that using your validation, right? So in this validation, so basically, okay, so let me go through a quick kind of overview. So this will give you a very like clear picture of, like, because validation does not only occur in FI.
Yeah.
So we can have validation in all the finance modules. So basically what we have is, you need to remember what is the call-off point. That means whether it is drawn up in FI or whether it's drawn up in CO. Based on that, it will define which tables it will fit. Again, it will change with the S4 scenario, because in S4, right, you have FI and CO consolidated in one place, which is AC DOCA, right, that particular table.
Right.
Right. So what we
yes. For S4, huh?
Yeah, for S4.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for this one, right? So there it works a bit differently, because it is kind of, but still this transactions remain same.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of valid across the modules. And these are valid only in, let's say, CO and only in FI.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what will happen is, okay, so what will happen is, let's say we try to go through this validation step, OB28. So we are here, right? And let's say for my company code, let's say I want to define a new validation step. Let's say WD01. I have something. Here is a call-up point which I was referring to. Where are you calling it? Where it's in the document header or at the line item? For the vendor line, you can know it's at the line item level, right? Yes. So you can put it here, and you can define a new validation as well. So let's go here. And once you activate, so this is kind of the common step. So once you define a validation, you need to activate it in order to use it. So at the moment, it is not ready yet, so we don't activate now. So after this, right, what we do is we go to this particular part. So under your test validation, let's say we are having few of the steps which has been defined. So what we need to do is we need to insert one step. And let's say what will be the prerequisite for this? So it will be, we only want to draw this up for a vendor invoice, right? So when in the prerequisite, we can mention either you can start with the document type, or yeah. So yeah, either there can be two mode. Either you can go to the expert mode where you can put the code like yourself, which is here. So it will come in white, like, so you can just type it, just like as a command, you can update it here. Or what you can do is you can switch it off as well. No. So in this, right?
See, I
Yeah.
I actually do all these steps just a couple of months back.
Yeah.
But it's a very good to
Yeah,
have that
definitely.
punishment.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what happens basically, we realize we know the steps how to do that, but
Yeah.
when it comes to the solution at that particular time, maybe we try to like we are not too sure what will be the correct step to use.
No. I was 100% sure what to use, what not. It's
Yeah.
just that I'm refreshing it again.
Okay.
This yeah. Anyways, so
Yeah.
it's got a lot of ways. So
Yeah. Right. So here, either what you can do is you can contain all those validation prerequisites in a set, or you can just put it as a constant, like which is very rare. Uh, so, like for example, if you have the vendor invoice selected over here for only those documents, or you can also have not equal to. For example, the accruals you want to exclude, you can also have a not equal to indicator. The next thing which I wanted to show it to you is basically you can have two steps. Either you can bring your own kind of, it will check for a particular field over here, or you can also have some exits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this
Right.
exists, right? How do you know which exit is triggered? So here, like when you click on this ABAP routine, right? So so basically for each kind of validation, we have okay. This routine is not here.
That you will go back and see it.
Yeah, here we can implement and see
Yeah.
as well. So directly from here, we can see under that particular program. So, so basically what happens whenever the validation program is called, right? So it also has one include, which allows us to enhance a bit further. For example, here you will find all those form names, the exits.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you want to debug or maybe you want to check, right, whether this particular kind of enhancement is working or not, you need to check. You need to just remember that particular exit name, like which is this, right? And what you can do, like let's say you want to just check whether this works or not. You can also set a breakpoint at this point, like so that the system won't go through the entire bit of code and it will only focus on this, and you can find out, okay, this is working fine.
You can use the debugger too, right here.
Yeah, right. So for example, I can just set the breakpoint over here. So what it will do is whenever it's entered into the form, right, then it will try to debug at this particular position only.
Haha. Okay. Then you will
Okay.
go back and
Yeah,
debug.
there are multiple ways. So basically, how you can do this. So first step is basically going into that particular exit and setting the debugger over here. The other place is basically you can also have an expert trace which can be turned on. So once you save it, like let's say, let me save this. Tax code, tax. MWS. Yeah. MWS. Okay, let's yeah. So let's say it is not equal to blank. So what I want to ensure is whenever I have a vendor invoice, it does not allow me to post anything without a tax code. So a very simple validation. So I just save this. Yeah, it is completed. And when you want to have your messages like you want to use some variables in your message, for example, you want to tell that for this particular GL account, you need the tax code and all those things, you can pull it up here. Okay. So all those messages comes with a $sign, which you can use. Now to the next portion, which I was talking about, like how, so now I have saved this particular validation, right? Now, if I want to check a particular validation at any particular step, right, I can turn on my expert trace over here. Okay. And at the same time, you can just delete all the breakpoints as well. So that is also possible. Okay, so for once your testing is done, maybe you know 100% sure that this particular validations will be working, so you can switch it off. Okay, So this is how it works. So basically, when you put a new validation, so now you will see, like for example, for WD01, right? If I try to book any entry for document type K, yeah, I'm just taking a random entity. Testing, what was that called? Okay, I have put tax code, but for which line I have not specified. So that's fine. Oh, this document type is not set up. Yeah. So let me just let me just quickly do that. Let me follow this step which they are using. Saved it, right? Numbering 19 is missing. Oops. Oh. So when I try to post this, right, it will, and go to the next line, it will drop me an error message as well. So KR. Oh, I have not activated. Sorry. I have not activated the validation step yet, right? Which was in the first screen. Yeah, so I have saved the validation, but I have not activated it. So that's the reason it's not picking up. So now it should work fine. Now it will always ask me to post to put in some details around it. Yeah, see, it is calling up the validation, and it is telling that the validation is unsuccessful. So this is how you treat this particular validation. Yeah, and then what you have is under your validation also.
Hold on.
Yeah.
When you went to that particular screen, you should have gone to one of the T codes. I don't remember the T code where the debugger will work, and then then it will exactly trigger the point, and then now you have to debug this validation.
No, okay. So what I was doing is the validation, like I have set the debugger on one of the exit. Am I using that particular exit? No, not yet, right? So basically, if I use that particular exit, right, for example, we had this one, right? Company code validation for the cost center. We have not used this particular exit yet.
Oh, you did not. Okay.
Yeah. So we have just used the normal check for this particular
validation. Okay.
Yeah.
But when your validation is unsuccessful, then how would the exit would get triggered?
Yeah, so it always follows stepwise. So what we does is whenever you have this particular validation rule activated, right, it first follows the step 1 and then step 2. Now, when you have the exit triggered, right, you need to just click on this particular exit to activate it. Okay, so for example, here you won't enter the field name. You will just enter the exit name over here. Okay. That is how it works. So basically, let's say you have already worked with your ABAPer and you have told like for this particular thing we want, let's say it will check for the cost center validity for this if it's valid for the entire year before doing any posting. So then it will just check in this particular exit and then only it will allow you to post.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how it is. So maybe what we will be doing is so at least what we know is for the validation part, I will try to check if I can just get some development rights, and I can also update this particular exit to work for us. I'm not sure if we can get it because I have been only assigned a functional role, so I won't be able to. But I can have a quick update onto that particular rule, and I can update this. So unfortunately, let's see how it works. I can check with my the support team and ask for it.
What system you're using, I don't know. The test.
Yes,
and
ECC.
Generally, you have the access to this role.
Yeah, we have the access to this one, but we are not able to modify the function module. That will require the developer key, which I don't have.
But we still should have it, right, with Firefighter or whatnot.
Yeah, so that is one thing I need to check. Like, for example, then it will be more clearer for you. So then we can play around with the code as well.
Okay. But then you get these accesses and write down, because even you couldn't show me, na. So everything is leaving at half
level. Yeah.
So
access for the like maybe the function module updates. Yeah. Yeah. So I will just get it. And for the cross client config, I have already got. So this is fine. We'll just so tomorrow we will continue again with the substitution part. Okay. So the substitution section we will be going through, and also I will be touching upon this particular part for the validation. If I get the access by tomorrow, which is quite unlikely, but at least definitely before the next week they should be able to sort it out for me. At least the validation, the function module part, just as they have sorted for the cross-client access, they should be able to get me the access for the function module update as well.
All right, let's test your knowledge. Here's a question for you. Which field status group controls the behavior of fields in G/L account master data? Option A, account group. Option B, field status variant. Option C, posting key. Option D, document type. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck. Type the correct answer in the comment section. Hey there! Want to get good at managing finance and accounting? Our SAP FICO course is here to help. You can take it at your own pace on our platform. In this course, you'll learn all about SAP FICO. It's like a toolbox for handling money, from tracking expenses to managing company accounts. Our course covers everything you need to know, from the basics to more advanced tips. It's made by experts who know what they're talking about. Your teachers are pros who've been working with SAP FICO for years. They're here to help you learn and answer all your questions. And don't just take our word for it. Our students love the course too. People just like you have found our course very helpful. Best part? It won't cost too much. This great chance to learn that is affordable. Ready to become SAP FICO expert? Sign up on our page now. And for more info, check out ZaranTech's website.
So, okay, so so there are a few things which I wanted to clarify so first of all, I tried to get the access for the kind of updating or creating the functional module, but unfortunately that is basically, it's not like allowed for my training rules. So that's the reason they couldn't provide that. There is only for the developers training. So that's the reason, because they have separate role for the functional and development people. So that's the reason we could not get that. But that should not stop us, basically, because we should be able to, because we are expected to work as functional people only, right? But we need to know what are the spots of enhancement, which we are anyways covering through our training. Okay. So let me share my screen as well. So I think we had done with the topic of validation, right, in the last class, right?
No.
Yeah, the validation we did run correctly, right? That one. The validation
did not run correctly, but you proceed with your thing to whatever you have decided for.
Sure. Okay, so the next part is, I think the validation, what we had mentioned was, like, for example, if you are trying to process something, like let's say you book vendor invoices, right? So now when you book the vendor invoices, that at that time, right, like you can have, you must ensure that you book it with the tax code, especially for the expense line. How you can enforce that? You can put some validation and you can enforce that. And why you are putting validation instead of field status group to handle this? Because for the accrual entry, right, you do not want to enter any tax code, but for the invoice, you just want to ensure that the tax code must be entered. So that was the case that we had done for the validation, I hope. For the substitution, what happens, right? So like we have some cases where for the tax vendor, right? So for the tax vendor, you must input the tax reference number in the maybe the invoice header while booking, or maybe it should be available in the printout. So how do you ensure that? Like for example, so there are two cases for us where we are telling that. So first of all, we have a vendor code which needs to be maintained with the tax ID, right? And then this tax ID need to be available in your document header reference, right? And that also need to be copied into some field, like into line items for the printout, into line items, let's say in the assignment field. So these are the three things that we want to ensure happens, right? So for this one, what we can do is, for this part is very simple. Why? Because maybe for the tax vendors, we can have a separate account group for vendors, and then we can make the tax field as mandatory for them. So what will happen is whenever they try to create a tax vendor, the tax ID should be populated. So how do you ensure that? Okay. So here, so for example, these are all my vendor codes, right? So let's take any of them. Take something for US vendors. Maybe we'll take this one. And under general data, you have this, right? So under control data, you have tax details. So basically, how you can enforce the user to maintain it. So you need to just put the VAT registration number as a required entry, for example. Okay, so for the tax vendor, so you
No, hold on. This is like why are you showing me? This is like end user part. So basically, field status and all this is normal. Don't show me this.
okay.
Yeah, don't show me all this.
Okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, so this actually, I was going through the scenario, so that's the reason we had mentioned this. Okay, so now what we have is we go to the next part, which is for the substitution. So now where do we define substitution? It is under the OBBH, as we have seen. We define our substitution. And if you want to view the substitution, like all the substitution which are available in the system, you can also see in this transaction code GGB1. Right. So for example, the substitution can be called in different modules. So the one that we are dealing at the moment is basically under this financial accounting. So what we want is basically we want to create a substitution rule. Okay, so that we will copy this particular, like from the document reference, right, header reference, we will be copying that into the line items, okay, which is into the assignment field. So how we can do that? So we can just go to this, like let's say this is my substitution method which I have called, and let's say I define a new step. So maybe reference to assignment field. Okay, so we just mention it over here. So what you will be doing is we just put the code for this same way as we have done for the validation as well. So we just search, like whenever we have the account type, let's say as K, right? So we will be just substituting the value for, the field I have not selected yet. So for example, how to add the field we have already. So we just add it, and we just ensure that this particular assignment field, right, so we have three options. We have either we can fill it with a constant value, which is not the case because the tax number will change with every vendor, right? Then you can have an exit, so which is basically the one that we were talking about, so which is kind of the function module, which we can assign under the exit. And then you have a field to field assignment. So in this field to field assignment, what you can do is you can just select. So what I need is basically it will be copied from the document header reference, right? So how you can do that? So the document header reference, let's say, is XBLNR. So this is the field which is used for the document header reference. So what will happen? The tax code will be copied into this particular field, and from there it will be fetched onto the document header reference. Okay. So that is what. So we have just enabled this new substitution for US 11 sub, this particular under the substitution method. So what is the prerequisite? Basically, yeah, it will be only doing for the vendor line, not for all the line, only for the vendor line. Okay. So now what I will do is I will go back. So this we know that if we need to activate this, it should be kind of the activation level should be 1, which we have already done. Now we just have a quick test, which should work as well. Company code, yeah, we enabled it for US 11. So let's take one of the vendors and just to show that to you. Say the tax number is okay. Let me book some kind. It's just like an invoice you're trying to book. Yeah, no. Okay, this cost center is not there. Just a minute, I have not created. I think the cost center is not there. Let me prepare the master data as well for posting. I think for this, yeah, that's it. I think I will post it. No, the standard hierarchy area I have already created. And this. Okay, so I just do a normal expense entry over here. Now the thing which I want is for this particular line, right? For the vendor line, I have already entered in the reference field. So that needs to get copied into my assignment number, which is my objective. So, and I will post this. So this document got posted. So now if we want to display this, you can see the assignment already copied it, right? From the header reference, basically. So once it gets copied, like using the substitution rule, you can just copy over the value of this tax IDs into the line item so that it gets displayed in your printouts or whatever you have for this particular invoices. So this is how your like the general substitution, how it works. And this is kind of like use case as well, how this can be used, for example, to copy over the tax IDs for the vendors. Now, I think this part is clear, right? Very much.
So you added that in the substitution, and then first of all,
yeah,
you
it
added
derived.
the field activated, then added the field, and then you just proceed with the normal line item entry, and then it showed up.
Right, correct. So basically, I need not key in. So I need not remember to key in. So basically, let's say for your vendor, right, they will be always providing the tax number for like their tax number in the invoices. Correct. So that whenever, like, if you want to ensure that also appears in the line items and even in your printouts, right? So like, for example, we need to ensure that, okay, so this, like whenever we are booking this entry for this particular vendor, you must have this tax number displayed in all the lines of entry. So then you can use this substitution to do that. So you need not enter that manually. So basically let the system do that. So we will also see how to enhance this a little bit further. So right now what we have done is we have entered that into the header reference field, right? Manually. Now there is something which is also in use, which are known as the business transaction events. Okay. So using this business transaction event, what you can do is these are very similar to, I would say, like the substitution, but it has a lot of varied use. Okay, so we can call them at multiple places, of course. Like right now, what we are doing, we are only calling them at the header or the line item or the complete document, right? So these are the only 3 options for our validation or the substitution. And then what we are doing is at that particular place, we are just replacing the value. So this business transaction events are things which can be done at every portion of the document, right? At every processing step of the document, there are some events which are defined. Okay, so these are let's see how we can navigate to this. So let's go. So there is a transaction code FIBF where we can see all this business transaction events. So the first screen looks like this. And then what we can do is we can go through the process function modules. That means basically these are all the enhancement spots which are available. Okay, at where you can do some changes. So let's see for our customer master data, right? You also, so what I have done is for your convenience, I have also listed some of the very commonly used business transaction events. And let me give an example also how these are used. Okay. For this document posting, right? So the first one, which is very common, we use this business transaction event document post. So basically, if you during the course of substitution, right, there might be cases where, let's say, you want to derive some values which is based on the document number which has not got generated yet, right? So document number will only get generated once the document gets posted, right? So if you want to derive something like some values based on the document number, let's say you want to put that document number combined with the tax ID or something like that in the assignment field. One option is defining the sort key, right? But in sort key you have quite limited, like a bit of limitations are there. So you cannot have you cannot combine maybe some places from the vendor master and some places from the document. So you can only have like very limited options over there. So using this document post functionality, right, what you can do is even those document numbers which are generated in the runtime, you can use them in your to derive values for some particular fields. Okay, in this document post functionality. Same happens for your change document event. So for example, like whenever you want to set up whenever somebody is trying to change the payment term in a particular invoice document, right? You want to trigger a workflow for that. So whenever there is a change in payment term, it needs to go for approval of the finance manager, and then only once he approves, then only it will get posted, right? So those particular things you can do at the change document event. Okay. Same for the customer master final checks, right? So there can be some of the cases where you can define a check like, okay, so we have all heard of the sanction checks, right? Which are done. So there is a standard T code using which we can do this, which is YDPSS. But apart from that, whenever you want to ensure that when a customer is created and before it is verified, it needs to be blocked, right? So those kinds of functionality you can also enable using this particular BT 1340. So we will see all this, like just an overview of this BT as well during our training. And the last, and also one more important part related to the customer is basically for the dunning printout. So this is a very common request. So when you create so using your dunning proposals, right? What you do is you send reminders to the customer. Right. So for the reminders, what you do is you generate the form, you prepare the form, then you print the form, and then using this the form which you have printed, you can just either forward as an email to the customer, and that can be done, right? So using this dunning printout, right, this particular function module, you need not do that manually. So whenever you generate the printout, at the same time, you can have one kind of function module attached to that, so we can which we can use to send the email automatically after generating the dunning notice. Okay, so these are very common uses where, like, in which cases we use this business transaction events. So let's learn a bit further about how we can implement them, right? So if you want to implement any BT event, what are the steps that need to be followed for that? So first of all, we need to know, right, where it gets implemented, right? So for that, what we'll be doing is here you will have the info system, and here you can check whatever are the BTs which are implemented for your organization. Okay, so let's say, so it seems that these are all the BTs which has been implemented at the moment. Okay, so we had already talked about like the 1030, right? The posting data one, and then we have the 1120 where we can add some additional checks at the time of document posting. So here, basically, you can see which are the BT events which you want to use for your implementation. Let's say we want to use this. Okay.
So from let me ask you from the interview perspective, and from getting job perspective, how does this gonna help? Do they ask all these questions? I don't think so.
No, basically from the interview perspective, how it should help is basically if they ask this question, right? What are the options? Like we have we already dealt with this scenario, right? So if you want to copy over, maybe you must ensure that for the tax vendors, right, the header reference must be filled with the tax ID, but that you want to do it automatically. So you don't want to depend on the user to key in the tax reference, right? How will you do that? So you can tell that, okay, so we have event which is known as the business transaction event. which can be used specifically for this purpose. And what we will be doing using that is basically we will be copying over the tax ID from the vendor master data into the header reference field automatically at the time of posting of this document. And then once and that will ensure that always for all your government or the tax vendors, you have this kind of reference field populated, irrespective of whether the user keys in or not.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So this is basically kind of like, so mostly what I have seen is in the interview. Okay, so previously at the junior stages, what happens is they just try to explore on the kind of knowledge on this subject. Like, but in maybe when you progress further into the role, right, they will also try to put more like a scenario based situations, like how will you achieve this, like you are in this kind of scenario, how will you achieve this particular thing?
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Right. So that's the reason I thought like this might be helpful.
Yeah. This one is good.
Yeah. Okay. So now once we go to this change document, like this particular place, right? So then what the system will do, it will already have some kind of like could be already provide some sample function modules. Okay. Sample function module means kind of a dummy function modules where the part of the code is written. But if you want to complete that and use it, then you need to implement your own one, right? So what we see over here is for this particular 1120 event, all this kinds of interfaces have already been set up for few applications. For example, in the invoice summary printout for Japan, they have implemented something like that. And there were some checks which has been implemented in this function module. So all those things, right? So basically you can draw it up from your BTE event. Now, if this looks a bit like, so this is not very user friendly. You won't know, right? Like how all the like which are all the interfaces which are available for this 1120. If you want to view that in one particular place, how will you do that? So here you can do this. So you can just go to under the info system, under the application, and here you can see all of them, all the events which has been implemented, right? So this you can see at this place. So the transaction code which is used is BF31 for this. And then you can see, for example, 1120, right? We were seeing all this in our description, right? So these are the places where they have enhanced. So what they have done for this, like they have one of the applications where it is being used, and they have implemented this FDM AR interface 1120 for this particular change document event. Okay. So this is what you do over there. Now, like as we know, right, if you want to have a view of that particular function module, you can definitely go and see it. And you can also do some testing in this particular place. So once you build it up, okay. So just the key things to remember about BTE is basically you need to understand at which point you want to implement it. So whether that is occurring at the time of posting of the document or at the time of changing of the document, or and what is your purpose for that? So then what you will be defining is from where you are fetching this data. So you will write that maybe the specification, functional specification to implement that particular, and then you will be giving it to your ABAPers so that they can tell like, okay, so please implement this particular BTE where this functionality will be achieved. And then once they activate this particular BTE, you will be able to use it. Okay.
Hey there. Want to get good at managing finance and accounting? Our SAP FICO course is here to help. You can take it at your own pace on our platform. In this course, you'll learn all about SAP FICO. It's like a toolbox for handling money, from tracking expenses to managing company accounts. Our course covers everything you need to know, from the basics to more advanced tips. It's made by experts who know what they're talking about. Your teachers are pros who've been working with SAP FICO for years. They're here to help you learn and answer all your questions. And don't just take our word for it. Our students love the course too. People just like you have found our course very helpful. Best part? It won't cost too much. This great chance to learn that is affordable. Ready to become SAP FICO expert? Sign up on our page now. And for more info, check out ZaranTech's website.
Okay, so what did we cover? So basically, when you have a customer, right, the customer can fulfill different types of functions, like for example, which are known as the partner functions, right? So that's what we had covered. correct?
Yes.
Right? And what are the different partner functions we discussed?
To, sold to,
And pair.
pair. Oh, yes.
Okay. So basically, if I go through the course content, so yeah, we'll be continuing with this integration. So basically, what we were trying to do is we were trying to create a sales order first. Okay. So before that, what we have created is we have created the different types of customers, right? And we had also set up the order type, correct? So these were the two things which we had done, right? So now there are a few things like if you are doing sales, right? What are the things that you need to configure? You need to extend the material master also, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let me close the CS. So let's extend the material master now. What was our material number? Finished good material number. So how do I search for it first of all? So here you can see there are so many options which you have. And what was our plant right? So here we can see these were the materials, the raw materials, this one, aluminum casing. This three we had created, but we did not create finish. Oh, we did not create the finished good yet, right? Okay, so let's create the finished good. So what is we also have one more, I think, product which we can extend. So we want to extend. So this was the finished good that we have, we had created. So I am just extending it to all our plant. Okay. Accounting, costing data, everything. We are extending it. What are the two plants which we had? UME, right? Something like that. Where is U? Okay. And storage location also we had one.
STO1.
STO1, right?
First.
Yeah, for this plant. Okay, so let's go down.
It was the first.
STO1, right? Let's create that. Was STOR. Okay, and then the sales org was US 11, right? For us. And what was the distribution channel for US 11, which we had created? Let's see. 11. RST US 11, right? 01. Correct? With this, let's proceed. So basically, this is the finished product. So which we are trying to manufacture. Let's say we just, okay, this is the finished product which we are trying to manufacture. Okay, so the general normal item. There is something which is known as a pricing group and an account assignment group. I will explain both of them. So pricing group means what type of product is it? Is it a spare part or a standard price? So these are kind of pricing groups are set up again by your SD consultant, but it is important because, but this will derive your deal accounts, the account assignment group especially. So it is important to know that. Account assignment group means what type of goods is it? Trading goods or a finished good, what type of thing is. So they can, so what we generally do is we prepare the type of material under the account assignment group. For example, you can have mobile, spare parts, accessories, right? So let's say the mobile uses 01 as the account assignment, okay? Then again in the sales data, right, what do? You also put something like availability check, like whether you want to do any availability check or not, like basically before selling this material, do you want to do some availability check? Yes. So let's say I put an availability check over there. And this is the planned data which we had earlier defined. So we are just extending it now. Accounting data as well. So let's put some price for this. So this is a cost. Okay. So it is the standard price. So let's put 24. Maybe the price is 14,000, something like that.
It's in US.
Yes, right. So it will be, let's say, 250 USD. Okay, something like that. And we save this. Okay. So let's say if I want to release the price for this material, we had already seen earlier CK24, where you can mention like for US 11. I'm not sure if I had maintained it or not, but let's give it a try. Okay, so the price is already there. So what was my US 11 rate? Oh, I did. Did I create the costing variant after the refresh? I think we did not create the costing variant after the refresh, right? So let's use this. One of the existing costing estimates. I'm just trying to check if I can use it. Okay. So basically, there were no price which was uploaded for the material. Why? Because I had not defined any BOM, right? So first I need to just do that. Please bear 1 second for this. I can use this one, there is no problem. Consumption account cannot be determined. Oh, we had, okay, so this we had not defined. So where do we define the material account determination? Tell me, what is the key code?
OBYC.
Very good. Remember that. So checking what is the reason.
The
Consumption.
VBRs.
Yeah, valuation or account modifier is VBR. But I have not specified by the account modifier here, right? Because, okay, so how do you read this? So here you have the rules, okay? So if you have the account modifier that you can put over here, like if you want to define additional account modifier, you can switch it on, okay? But previously I didn't switch that, right? I was just deriving based on the valuation class, correct? So now if you have, for example, I always get confused between these two. It's the valuation or the account modifier. VBR 3000. We had defined few accounts, so just trying to check what were my account codes. I think for the let's define it for the raw materials. So for the raw materials, it
500. Fourth. Fourth one.
yes, this one, right? 5001. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, offsetting entry. So okay, let's define this. There is no harm in doing this as well. We had defined one more, right, for the semi-finished. So let's pick it up.
that's 5.
Yeah, and we save this. Okay. Now let's again try a little bit around it. Costing blocked. Why? Let me check. Okay, so it is in two places. Still, we have that problem. It's using the account modifier VBR actually. So we are trying to skip the step for this one. Okay, shall we try with this one more time? Let's see what happens. So there are two modifiers basically. Sometimes we are like not too sure which one to use. So yeah. So basically you have one is a general modifier and one is a valuation modifier. So these kinds of entries, right, defined at like for the during the logistics, like which one will be picked for consumption and which one will be picked maybe like these are based on the transactions which are getting booked. Okay, so we don't have any control on this. However, from the accounting standpoint, the main important thing is this part, the valuation class, which defines, okay, when the raw materials are booked, what should be the correct account? When maybe the finished goods are booked, what should be the correct? Okay, so now again, let's give it a try. Let me save this because I don't have the BOM, so I'm just trying it via the normal CK11N without exporting the forms. Still, it could not be derived. Just wondering what to do around this. Okay, let me check because it does not give any list of because there is no drop down. You can see over here. So we cannot also find which is the correct entry. Let me think what can be done around it. Okay, we have already maintained the standard price, right, for this material in period 9, correct? Right, 250 is my standard price, correct? But I don't have any stock, so that's the reason there is no value. So let's try to build up a stock for this one at least, and after that, let's see what happens. 282. I want to goods issue. I will do the goods receipt. So we are just loading the initial stock, which you had seen right earlier, 561. And the storage location is this. This was the material, correct? Let's say 10 pieces I have. Why? Okay. Oh, the OMS2 have not. Yeah, OMS2 has not been set up. So let's set up quickly because we have not gone into the products costing for this. What was our material type? I forgot to take it as well.
E00.
No, that was my evaluation class. What was the material type? So where you can check it from here. We go to basic data, and here you can check, right? ZMDG, for example. So ZMDG, I can find it here. ZMDG, if I go in here, and our plant is say UMUM. You can see the value update is not there. So we save it. But now hopefully it allows me. There are a lot of this is really I hate this one. Okay, so basically the account determination for GBB is not maintained. Let's go back. Okay. So whenever you do any goods issue, right, it will be hitting your GBB. So that is one main thing. So basically, I think the VBR rule did not work. So shall we just maybe rule it off and then just we use based on our valuation class, which is generally the one which is used. So 5800 and 5910, we save it and then try to book this as well. Account determination for key US 11 and GBP. Okay. Let's see. We try to do MB1C again. And our GL accounts were already extended as cost elements, right? Earlier. So shall we have a quick check around it? Maybe that's the reason it is not. Oh yeah, so 5910, you can see it's not there. Correct? The one which we have defined for the finished goods. Right? Okay, so I just extended this and edit cost element. Let's use this as a generic cost element. And what we do is next, yeah, what is this? Chart of account, posting, key, valuation class. Yeah, we cannot. So if the material is, for example, here we can test it in OMWB. We can just check it if that works, first of all. So let's try to investigate about this issue a little bit. So, and what is the movement type? 561, right? So the plant, the plant is UMUM, first of all. Okay, so choose a movement. So entry of stock balances. This is what we are trying to do, right? And then let's see. So this is the ZMDG. The value update is switched on for this. Okay, so now for inventory, here basically you check what are the things which are picked up. So you can see that the inventory posting is also missing. So I think the inventory account is also not there for the finished goods. I hope so. I think so. But let's clarify that. Here, if I see, no, finished good inventory account is there, 510, but has it been extended? That is the main question. So let's see. What was the one for inventory? Tell me. BSX, right? No, BSX is there. See, 510 is there, existing. So no problem on this. But when I'm going to this simulation, it is giving an entry that it is missing for inventory posting. Valuation class is M. Okay, let's see. Valuation class. Have I not defined that? That's the main problem. Sorry for that. Actually, you can see the valuation class itself is not there. So how will the material determination take place, right? Now let's try. We can also do a quick simulation first before going in. So we click on simulation, our plant was and our material was this, and the movement type is 561, right? And we are trying to do a GL entry of the stock balances. So let's see why it is still not picked up. Okay, let me just try it right away and validate this. Still I'm facing this problem actually. I'm not sure why this was happening because we had already maintained all the materials, the valuation class, everything is there. So just a minute, I need to capture one screenshot. Yeah, recently again they are facing the same problem, the app dump, which they were having. So that's the reason we could not do it via Migo transaction and we have to go via that alternate, which is whenever you're unable to access Migo, we can at least try to do that using MB1C. But even then, the sales order creation isn't working well in the system. So that is also one more problem. So, okay, so for some reason, let's say this stock update is not working. So I will just have a quick check. Nobody. So, okay, so just to rewind a little bit on this topic. So basically we had started with our partner functions, right? So let's also define the places from where we have also extended our material to the plant. Yes, we don't have any material stock yet. That will be required. So we will work on that. But prior to that, at least let's define the points from which we will be shipping those items, right, to our customer. Okay. So how do you do that? So we go to SPRO. Under SPRO, we go to enterprise structure. And in enterprise structure, right, you define the logistics execution. So this is where you have the shipping point and the loading point. You can see here. So this you will specify in your sales order. So basically, what will happen is whenever you are doing some sales, right, then you need to specify from which location you are doing this sales. So let's try to create one shipping point for ourselves. Okay, and in which factory calendar they are working. So because these are plants, right? So they need to work on a particular factory calendar. So let's say we choose this one, the Germany factory calendar, and we save. Again, you need to give all your address and information. So what is the next part? So okay, so you know that this is the shipping point. But in this shipping point, from where will we load it? So that also you need to define, which is known as a loading point. Okay, so under your shipping point, you are loading, let's say, from bay 1. Okay, so that is defining the exact place from which you will be shipping this material to the customer. So you might have seen, right? Like whenever, let's say you have ordered some goods online from Amazon, it gives you different notification, right? Like for example, the item has been packed, then it has been shipped from this location to here. So basically all these location codes, so these are basically, we are referring to this location codes when we are referring to this loading point. So basically, let's say your item has been shipped from the warehouse from this particular location for the customs clearance, right? So what do they mean with basically the warehouse is your shipping point, and from warehouse in which place, the combination of the shipping point and the loading point defines the unique location from where your item is being shipped. So at any point of time, like let's say for the consignment, you using the tracking number, they want to check whether the order has been corrected or not. So they will go back to this particular point. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So now the next part that we will be doing is, okay, so now we have defined our material is there. I have not created stock for that, but and also the place from which I will be shipping this material and load these materials are there. Now what do I need? I need to create the sales order, right? For creating the sales order, you had already seen the document type, correct? The last class, I think we had created the document type, this one. So let's have a quick review around it. So I think generally we use the standard order type is OR, which is the one generally which we use. And the one which we had configured, I think, was ZU1, right? Now, if you want to use this particular order type, right, for your sales organization, you need to define that. So how do you define this? First, let's define our, like again, this particular, we will be extending all this config. Like for example, we had already defined all this org structure, right, earlier. Now we will be defining which of this org structure will be used in SD. So we just verify if the configuration is there or not. So we can see yes, the US001 wholesale, all this is available at this place. And same way, we also check about the division ones just to check on it is there. So you can see US 11, yeah, all these divisions are available. So not to worry on this part as well. Okay, so now again, let's go back to here. So we had already set up the number ranges, right? So we have defined the sales document type and we have defined the number ranges. So if I just look into the number ranges, I think this was the 01 number ranges which we had assigned to the sales document type. So if I just have a look into the sales document type, ZU1, here you can find that whenever it's created internally, like you're not specifying the order number, it is using the 01 as a number range. Now, what we need to do is you need to extend this number range to be used by your sales area. Okay, so let's do that. So let's try to assign the sales order types to the permitted sales area. Okay, good. So what is your sales reference sales area? It's US 11. And from which division are you selling it? Wholesale, right? This is what we have decided to use, right? 0C and what U1 or something, right? Mobiles, right? And what was our order type? ZU1, correct? Okay, so it seems I have not defined this as a general sales area yet. So let's see what has happened wrong over here. I think this step has not been done yet. Okay.
Define 6.
Yeah.
We defined 6 sales areas.
Yeah, but here, right, we did not assign it under this order management module. So you have defined your enterprise structure, right? But whether you will be using the sales area for this ordering, that also you need to do over here at this place, OVAO. So that's the reason it was telling that the sales areas were not available yet, right? So you have done the enterprise structure definition, right? So basically, how many sales orgs are there, how many distribution channels are there, and we also generated those combinations, right? But now, in order to do ordering using those sales and distribution or org units, right, you need to assign it under OVAO, and you need to assign this sales areas to the order type. Okay. So basically using those order type, you can use this sales area. That is what we are telling. So here, for example, whether you are allowing all this or not, like for ordering that you are just specifying. So let's say I specify that all these three are allowed. Basically, I will be able to raise sales order for all these three org units, like the sales org and these three distribution units. Same way, I will do it for the divisions as well. Come on. So my sales org is again US 11. So you can see that these are the same configs which we have done earlier, right? So basically what we are doing is we are extending this to be used for this particular order type, which will be coming in the next step. So for your sales ordering, basically you are able to use all this org units. That's what we define. So let's now assign this to the order type. See here? Okay, so here let's add new entries, say US 11, and from the wholesale division, I'm selling mobile. And now you will be seeing I'm able to assign it. Okay. So basically what I'm telling is the system to do is, look, I will be doing some sales using my order type ZU1, right? And I will be selling from this reference distribution channel and division. Okay.
If we didn't define a sales,
yeah, sorry.
If we didn't define a sales area in the same manner like US 11, 0C and UM, we defined 8 sales areas, right?
Yeah.
And this was one of them.
Yeah.
If we define something different from the sales area, we define.
No, it won't. Because that is the first. So basically, okay, so if I just go back to this config here, you can see the sales like organization has to exist first. And then only you can combine or maybe use the sales organization for ordering. You can see these are all your sales organization which we have defined.
Yes.
Okay. So you got the reason for doing this. So basically, because in SD module, right, we are only doing one type of document, which is a sales order. Apart from that, there are a lot of types of documents which can be created. So what we are doing is we are assigning all these types of organization unit for doing the sales order. Basically, for getting that sales order created, we can use this document type. So there can be a contract agreement, there can be a quotation, there can be a scheduling agreement. All these things are different types of documents under your sales. Okay.
Yes.
Clear? Okay. So now what we have done is, okay, so I am able to do some sales using this document type Z01 in this particular sales area. Correct? Now let's do a little bit more over here. So now we like, what are the type of items which I will be selling? That's also I need to define. So you remember in your material master, you had seen something like a normal item or something like that. So let's see here.
So it should be the same as finished good category, right?
No, let me open the material master, then it will be much easier to understand. So this is your material, right?
Yes.
Let's open the sales data.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, US 11, and the distribution channel was 0C, right? For
01.
Oh, okay, we have. Oh, okay. Okay, so I need to also extend that sales area, right? Then, okay, shall I extend this material from 01 to 0C? Then it will be easier. I need not do that config again. So how do I do that extension? I can just copy from here to here. Which data you want to copy? Let's say sales data from this plant to.
So 0C, copy from 01.
Yes, correct. Copy 01 to, yeah, I did opposite way. Sorry for that. And then you can see the item category group is what? Norm, right? So let's remember this particular item category group. And this you will be seeing over here as well. So what type of item you are basically selling? This is the normal standard item which I am selling. Okay. So this is already available, so no problem on this. The default value is here. So now let me go back. So basically this 3 has been done. So now let's go back to the pricing. So basically now you have told that, okay, you need to use this order type. We also have the customers. We also have the material. Now what type of pricing we will be using? So that we need to try now. So for pricing, you need to go under your basic functions. Okay. So let's see what does this pricing mean. So here under your pricing, what you do is you define, just as you have the say, like when we had defined the tax condition, remember? First, we have created the condition, the procedure, and under that you have the access sequence, under that you have the condition type. So the same way it works over here as well. But what you do is you define the pricing by item category. Okay.
Yes.
So let's first define the pricing procedure. So we will try to use the standard SAP pricing procedure itself. So let's see. So let's say this is the standard SAP pricing procedure. Okay. And under that, you can see there are a lot of different types of combinations which has been maintained. Okay. The important thing to note is same as we had seen for our tax condition types as well. We have the account key which is defined over here, right? ERL. So just make a note of this. We are using the account key as ER, and we had used 01 as the account assignment category, right? So let's say we want to use RBAA01 as our pricing procedure. How will you assign this to order type? In this particular place, you can assign the document pricing procedure to the order type. So what is your order type? Tell me. Value 1. Okay. So here you have the A as your document pricing procedure, correct? So now let's go back. And there's a customer pricing procedure also, which will be there. So let's say it's a standard customer pricing, which we are using. So now the combination of the document and the customer pricing procedure, which will determine what should be this two combination basically defines your the price. Okay, so you can see the document pricing procedure, the customer pricing procedure, right? And when these two are combined along with your pricing procedure, it determines the price. Okay, so how do you interpret this? For example, for the mobiles, right? Whenever I am using this mobile, I am referring this as a trading goods. Okay, and whenever I am doing a sales maybe in domestic, so basically I have a customer pricing procedure for the domestic sales. So for this sales organization, whenever I am doing any domestic sales for this trading goods, which is in the document procedure, I always I have assigned the order type. Remember, I have assigned the order type to this document procedure. Correct. So whenever I'm doing any sales for one, which is the customers which are using the pricing procedure as one, it will always use this particular process, and the price of the material will be determined by this condition type. Okay, let's try to configure for our entity. So US 11 0C 01 was our division, no, or something else. I think different, right? Document pricing procedure 1, customer pricing procedure 1. And we had used a standard pricing procedure, RBA01, and here we assign it. Good?
We didn't define PR.
PR00 was, yes, we defined it. So basically in our customer, like in our pricing procedure, right, you had seen that PR00. Let me go back. In this, right, you have seen the PR00, right, pointing to ERL, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this will be your price of the sales price. Okay.
Yes.
So what have we done till now? So basically we have done is we have defined the shaping point and the loading point. We have defined the pricing procedure. And how do you determine the pricing procedure? So the logic is basically you have defined the sales document type. You assign the document pricing procedure to that order type. In your customer master, you have already assigned the customer pricing procedure. So the combination of the customer pricing procedure and the document pricing procedure will determine which pricing condition that you are using and what is the condition type using which you refer to the final price of the material. Clear?
Yes.
Now we come to one more very important part. Remember when we had created the material, we had created the account assignment group, right? How do you use it? So basically we use it here under the transaction code. So for MM, you had remembered OBYC, correct?
Yes.
For SD, we always remember VKOA, this particular transaction. Okay. So these are all like, for example, if I have the account determined based on the customer group, material group, and the account key, then this condition is used. So first this condition is fulfilled, then this condition, and then this condition. So these are all custom defined condition table. Okay. So like you can also add your own condition table over here. Not us, but the SD consultant can add. Okay. For us, the important thing is the account. Okay. Now, in which application are we doing? In our sales application, which is known as V. Okay. We are doing this derivation for our FI posting, which is KOFI. Okay. And then our chart of account is US 11. What is our sales org? US 11 as well. What were the account assignment in the material master and this one in the customer master? So this defines the one for the customer master, and the next one defines the one for the material master. So customer master was domestic revenue and the material master was trading goods, I guess. Yeah. And what was the account key? Tell me.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Oh, I already have one entry. Let me check. Okay. So this seems there is already an entry. So apart from that, what we need to do is we can also do for KOFK. So what is now the question is, why do you need KOFI and KOFK? So KOFI is for the account determination in FI, KOFK is for the account determination in CO. So generally we want to post to the same account in both of them. So we just save this. Okay. So for account determination in MM, the OBYC, and in SD, what do you see? VKOA. And how do you determine this account? Based on the account assignment group which you have set up in your customer and the material master. Till this part, is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's very good. Now let's see VA01. What was our order type? ZU1, right? And US 11 0C UM. Yeah, so this was the problem which we are facing actually. We have reported this already, this particular error. So basically we had already done till this portion. And we are just, the actual part we are trying to do over here, which basically creation of the sales order. And then we'll also post the initial stock entry and we'll do the delivery and the invoicing. So these 4 parts are remaining. So, okay, no worries. So let me check if the support team can resolve this by, so anyways, we have the training in the evening only, right? So which is evening India time. So hopefully by that time, we can, all this will be resolved. So just to do a quick recap. So what do you mean by a sales organization? The unit in the organization which is doing the sales activity, right? Then you have the distribution channel, right? Through you're reaching out to the customer in which way. Then you also have the division, which defines the product division, what type of product. So combination of all these 3 is a sales area. Then you had also talked about the sales offices, right? Which you can also assign under your sales organization. We had discussed about the different assignment among this organization unit. That is basically sales org, distribution channel, and division defines your sales area, and the sales org is assigned to the company code, right? Then we talked about the partner functions, like the different kind of roles the customer can play, right? And we also told like from where the goods will be shipped and from which loading point under the shipping and the loading point. After that, what I was trying to do is I was trying to prepare the system to create a sales order. So for creating a sales order, what is the first thing which you need? You need a sales document type, right? So we created the sales document type, we assign the number ranges to that, and then to the sales document type, we assign a pricing procedure. How did we assign? First, we define the pricing procedure, and then to the sales document type, we assign the pricing, like document condition type, which is A, which we had assigned to the pricing procedure. So the combination of the document condition procedure as well as the customer condition procedure uniquely define the price which we will be going to, right? Now, after that, what we had seen is we had, so we had seen the condition the record, so like PR00, right? And then what we have defined to using which account will you post the entry in SD. Like for example, when you have a revenue for a particular customer for a particular order for their use, when you are selling that material, which account you will post the revenue to. So that we have defined over here.
All right, let's test your knowledge. Here's a question for you. Which transaction code is used to post a general journal entry? Option A, FB01. Option B, F02. Option C, FB50. Option D, all of the above. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck. Type the correct answer in the comment section. Hey there! Want to get good at managing finance and accounting? Our SAP FICO course is here to help. You can take it at your own pace on our platform. In this course, you'll learn all about SAP FICO. It's like a toolbox for handling money, from tracking expenses to managing company accounts. Our course covers everything you need to know, from the basics to more advanced tips. It's made by experts who know what they're talking about. Your teachers are pros who've been working with SAP FICO for years. They're here to help you learn and answer all your questions. And don't just take our word for it. Our students love the course too. People just like you have found our course very helpful. Best part? It won't cost too much. This great chance to learn that is affordable. Ready to become SAP FICO expert? Sign up on our page now. And for more info, check out ZaranTech's website.